Hello, I am Peter Blackwood, coordinator of the Uniting Church Icon Schools, and in this video I'm preparing an icon panel with a glued on frame. I have a video of some months ago demonstrating me routing a hollowed out kivatos to make a frame and also to fit braces on the back. I've started preparing panels this way, that is gluing the frame onto the panel, as it is not so labour intensive, and my capacity to perform carpentry with power tools that require strength and precision is not what it used to be. Mistakes are too frequent. I'm still using power tools for this job, however. So I've gone to my local hardware store, mega store, and I have purchased a pine panel 180 centimetres long by 235 millimetres wide and 19 millimetres thick. It will give me 6 new panels. The frames are made from strips of timber, sometimes called straps, but they're strips of timber and they're 30 millimetres wide by 4 millimetres thick. And I've got 3 lengths of 2.4 metres, and that will be enough for the 6 panels. So it's off to the workshop. So here we are in the world's most untidy workshop, and my pine panel being measured up, and I'm measuring it off 300mm from the edge and lining up the saw. I could set gauges and things like that, but I just don't trust them. What you'll see me do each time is measure separately, and then usually twice. So, well, we could measure that one off. That should be pretty accurate, shouldn't it? I did that at 30 centimetres, 300 mils. But let's just make sure that it is. Yeah, that's cool. And also let's make sure that it's square. And line it up. And hold it firmly in place. Keep your thumb out of the way so that you've got a thumb at the end of this cut. And there we are. So as I've said, I got 6 panels out of that. Now the bench saw I've set at 45 degrees because my strips of the straps, the strips of timber for the frame, I want them to be beveled at 45 degrees. So here is the saw, and it is churning away at a dangerous speed, and I'm keeping my hand well away from it. It is really, really, really dangerous. Gosh, the number of carpenters I know of who have lost a finger or two on one of these, including my great uncle by marriage. Uncle Percy had a couple of fingers missing. So, oh gosh, lovely sawdust flying around. Well, having beveled all the edges at 45 degrees, it is a pretty rough cut. So some coarse sandpaper on a block to smooth it out. Of course, this will be corrected even further once gesso is put on and the gesso is sanded back, but gosh, it helps to have the whole area as smooth as all get out. Now here we are back at the crosscut saw, and again I've set it at 45 degrees because I'm cutting the straps that will form the frame, and I want them to be beveled at the edges at 45 degrees as well. And when I start setting it up, you'll see why. Now before I do anything else, I want to make sure I'm putting it on the right side. Now that's the rings of the panel, and I want to make sure that the face side is the heart side of the timber, and that mitigates favourably for any warping that might happen. And most frames are made with mitre cuts and 45 degrees, and they all join up, but they've got to be very accurate. So what I'm doing here is this overlap method, and this is why, because you've got a beveled edge, the other one butts onto it, but it needs to be beveled too, or beveled the other way so it fits across. Now this glue, you could use PVA glue, but this is a very strong glue, and just happen to have it, so that's what I use instead of the PVA. And 2 clamps, just spring clamps. Now I want to do this whole operation in one hit, which is why I have 8 clamps. Let's speed this up so that we don't take all day. And we have the 3rd one in place. Just make sure I'm feeling with my fingers and thumb that they're flush up against the edge. There is some sanding and sometimes some planing to be done to tidy it all up in the end, but it's the closer you can get it to perfection at this stage, the easier it is to clean it up later. So there we have it, and we can come back. This particular glue, half an hour later, it's all set, or set enough to be able to do this next stage, and that is to trim off the edges, and I'll do that with a tenon saw. Get rid of all these bits and pieces, and then we can turn it over and get the tenon saw to work. Turn it over. Where now, how will we position this? No, that's not such a good idea, because no, let's put it on that edge. Oh, we're going to be, we want to be, come on, move it so that we can see what you're doing. That's the way. Good. And at the end, there are some little gaps, which gesso would hopefully fix, but again, it's really better to have as smoother operation as possible. So using some putty, or using some of that wonderful fine sawdust, mixing it with PVA glue and filling the gaps with that when it is all set, sand it off, and that makes a very good wood filler, sawdust and PVA glue. bit more rough sanding. The smoother it is, the better. And there we have it. Now I just have to do that 5 more times, apply many coats of gesso and get painting. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.